Most people chase pleasure like a fool chases shadows, grasping for quick thrills, never realizing they're trading power for poison. But let me tell you something. True pleasure isn't found in indulgence. It's found in discipline, in purpose, in mastering yourself. The world taught you to seek comfort. I'm here to tell you to seek growth. Because once you taste the pleasure of progress, you'll never see pleasure the same way again. Most pleasures the world offers are fleeting, shallow, and ultimately unfulfilling. If you actually get, they're designed to keep you distracted, complacent, and disconnected from your true potential. The first keynote, a false pleasure is the enemy of purpose, is not just a caution, it's a warning against the silent sabotage happening in our everyday lives. Society constantly whispers that pleasure is the goal, that if something feels good, it must be right. But what if that very belief is what's keeping most people stuck? False pleasure shows up in many forms: mindless scrolling, binge eating, meaningless relationships, quick fixes, cheap entertainment. These things are not inherently evil, but the danger lies in how they're used. They create an illusion of satisfaction while draining your energy, your time, and your focus. The three most precious resources you have. The more you indulge in these surface-level gratifications, the less you hear the voice inside you calling you towards something greater. There's a difference between pleasure that feeds the body and pleasure that feeds the soul. The former is what most people chasing comfort, ease, escape. The latter is found in purpose, in doing meaningful work, in growing through struggle, in creating something that lasts. Purpose often requires sacrifice, pain, and patience. It rarely feels pleasurable in the moment, but over time, the joy it brings is far deeper and longer lasting than any hit of dopamine ever could be. You see, false pleasure works like a drug. The more you consume it, the more you need to feel the same level of satisfaction, and the less you're able to delay gratification. Purpose is the opposite. The more you pursue it, the stronger you become. The more you delay gratification, the more powerful your decisions become. This is why false pleasure is not just a distraction. It's a direct enemy of your purpose. It's not neutral. It's a force that numbs your drive, clouds your vision, and actually weakens your will. You don't need to reject pleasure entirely. That's not the point. But you must learn to discern between what builds you and what breaks you slowly without you even noticing. Ask yourself, is this action pulling me closer to the person I want to become, or just giving me a momentary escape from who I am right now? That one question can radically change your life. When you choose purpose over pleasure, when you work late on your dreams instead of watching another show, when you go to the gym instead of sleeping in, when you save money instead of spending impulsively, you're not depriving yourself. You're strengthening your character. You're building momentum. And over time, that becomes a pleasure in itself, the pleasure of self-respect, the pleasure of progress, the pleasure of knowing you're living with intention. The truth is, false pleasure is easy. That's why it's everywhere. But greatness, that's rare, because it demands more from you. And the greatest tragedy isn't failure, it's potential wasted on momentary thrills. If you want to change your life, start with how you define pleasure. Start questioning what actually fulfills you. When you do that, you'll begin to see that the pleasure the world pushes is small compared to the joy of living your purpose fully and fearlessly. That's when everything changes, because you won't be fooled anymore. You won't be seduced by things that feel good but rob your future. You'll walk a new path, fueled not by cheap highs, but by the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you're building something real. And that's a kind of pleasure that lasts a lifetime. There is a kind of joy that doesn't come from entertainment, comfort, or ease. It doesn't arrive in the form of a reward handed to you, nor is it something you can buy, borrow, or fake. It's the kind of pleasure that arises from movement, forward motion towards something meaningful. This is the essence of the second keynote. True pleasure comes from progress, not from perfection, not from having it all figured out, but from knowing you're becoming better than you were yesterday. Progress is a deep, soul-level satisfaction that can't be duplicated by external pleasures. The moment you take a step, however small, toward your purpose, something powerful ignites inside you. It's not about climbing a mountain in a day. It's about knowing that with every step, you're gaining clarity, confidence, and character. That sense of movement, that feeling that you're evolving, is a kind of pleasure no quick fix can match. The mistake many people make is thinking that pleasure only comes after hard work is done. They believe joy is waiting at the finish line after the goal is achieved, but that's not how life works. If you tie happiness only to outcomes, you'll live in constant frustration, because the truth is, even when you reach a milestone, the mind quickly shifts to the next thing. The real gift is not in the achievement itself. It's in who you become during the pursuit. That's where fulfillment is born. Activates the mind and heart in ways that shallow pleasure never can. When you grow, you feel alive. When you challenge yourself and win, even in the smallest ways, you create momentum, and momentum fuels belief. That belief becomes a habit. And that habit, it becomes a lifestyle. One built not on escaping your reality, but on creating a new one. You start to realize that the gym session that made you sweat gave you more joy than the junk food ever could. That reading a chapter of a book that sharpened your thinking made you feel more powerful than any mindless video ever did. That building something, your skills, your body, your business, your mindset, gives you a pride that comfort never will. This shift is critical, because once you taste the pleasure of progress, the old habits that once felt fun start to feel empty. You no longer crave the things that waste your time. You start looking for challenges, not to suffer, but because you've learned that struggle birth and growth feels good. It feels you real. Progress also heals. It mends the relationship you have with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you move forward despite resistance, you repair your confidence. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wants to change and start believing you're someone who is changing. That shift internally is where true power is found. This is why progress is not just about goals, it's about identity. It's about rewriting the story you tell yourself. You begin to say, I am someone who follows through. I am someone who gets better every day. I am someone who creates their own joy. And the moment you believe that, you unlock a level of pleasure no external source could ever compete with. So if you're tired of the emotional roller coaster of chasing shallow highs, turn inward. Ask yourself, where can I grow today? What small step can I take toward the person I want to become? Do that, and you'll begin to feel something deeper, something stronger than momentary pleasure. You'll feel purpose. You'll feel momentum. You'll feel alive. That's the kind of pleasure that lasts. That's the kind of pleasure worth chasing. Discipline is often misunderstood. People associate it with restriction, punishment, or the absence of joy. But that perspective is short-sighted and rooted in emotional immaturity. The truth is, discipline is not the absence of pleasure. It is the gateway to the highest and most lasting form of it. The third keynote, a discipline is the highest form of pleasure, speaks to the deeper, soul-satisfying reward that comes from self-mastery. Because there's a kind of pleasure that doesn't come from what you do. It comes from who you become when you do what's right, even when it's hard. Discipline means doing the right thing, not just when it's easy or convenient, but especially when it's not. It's waking up early when your bed begs you to stay. It's working on your craft while others scroll endlessly. It's choosing silence when your ego wants to fight. At first, these choices feel uncomfortable. They feel like sacrifices. But over time, they bring something no instant gratification ever could. Pride, clarity, power. The kind that sits quietly in your chest and whispers, I'm in control of me. And that control is a kind of pleasure all its own. It's the pleasure of not being ruled by your emotions, your cravings, or your fears. It's the quiet thrill of walking past your old habits and knowing they no longer own you. That inner strength, that inner order creates peace. And peace is the foundation of lasting joy. Because when you live in alignment with your highest self, when your actions match your vision, you no longer chase happiness. You embody it. Most people don't lack talent or opportunity. They lack discipline. They want results without routine, success without struggle, rewards without restraint. But life doesn't work that way. Everything meaningful requires discipline. Whether it's building a business, mastering a skill, nurturing a relationship, or transforming your health. The results come slowly, but they come surely. And when they do, they carry the deep satisfaction of knowing you earned them. What makes discipline even more powerful is that it builds upon itself. Each time you act with discipline, you strengthen your will. Your mind begins to shift. What once felt like sacrifice begins to feel like strength. The habits that once drained you lose their grip. You no longer need to resist distractions. They simply stop attracting you. And that shift in desire is key, because now you're not fighting yourself, you're guiding yourself. Think about it. The person who eats clean, trains daily, and manages their time well doesn't live in misery. They live in power. They enjoy the energy, focus, and confidence that their discipline brings. That's not suffering. That's a higher form of living. That's pleasure with roots. Pleasure that doesn't collapse when circumstances change. The real secret is that discipline doesn't take from your life. It gives to it. It gives you freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from the emotional roller coaster that comes with poor choices. You no longer wake up ashamed of what you didn't do. You wake up proud of what you're becoming. And that pride, that quiet, steady flame in your soul, is one of the most satisfying feelings a human can experience. So if you've been conditioned to think that discipline is a burden, it's time to change your mind. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to be. It's the muscle that moves you from wishing to winning, from dreaming to doing. And once you realize that, you'll stop avoiding it and start craving it. Because in the end, the highest pleasure is not found in indulgence. It's found in alignment, in self-respect, in becoming the kind of person you admire. That's what discipline gives you. And that's why it is, and always will be, the highest form of pleasure. Comfort zones feel safe. They're predictable, familiar, and free from pressure. But behind that sense of safety lies a quiet danger, a slow erosion of your potential. The fourth keynote, "Ooh, comfort zones are silent killers all," is not just a catchy phrase. It's a brutal truth. The very place that feels easiest to stay in is often the place where dreams go to die, not because something attacked them, but because they were never truly pursued. When you live inside your comfort zone, you're not growing. You're surviving. You do what you've always done, think how you've always thought, and live by routines that require little effort and less courage. At first, this feels like peace. You avoid stress, pain, and discomfort. But over time, that peace turns into stagnation. You start to feel restless, bored, uninspired. That's not coincidence. That's your soul protesting against the slow death of untapped potential. Comfort doesn't challenge you to evolve. It encourages you to stay small. And while comfort whispers promises of ease, it also robs you of greatness. Every dream you've ever had lives just outside your comfort zone. Every skill, every breakthrough, every transformation. They all require you to step into the unknown, to take a risk, to feel the sting of failure and the thrill of progress. And yet most people choose familiarity over growth, even if it means remaining miserable, unfulfilled, or average. The danger of comfort is that it doesn't feel dangerous. It lulls you into believing you have time, that someday you'll make the move, take the leap, start the business, end the toxic relationship, go all in on your vision. But someday never comes. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and one day you wake up realizing the only thing you built was a life based on avoiding discomfort. Regret then becomes the final price of staying safe. Growth demands that you face fear, not just once, but over and over. It means putting yourself in rooms where you feel behind, trying things you're not good at yet, and daring to fail in front of others. That's uncomfortable, yes, but that's also where life begins. Because every time you stretch beyond what's familiar, you expand. You sharpen your mind, strengthen your will, and deepen your belief in yourself. You become more. Discomfort is a sign that you're on the edge of growth. It's a signal that you're entering territory where your old self cannot survive, and your higher self can finally emerge. It's you actually get. It's not punishment, it's preparation. Think about every powerful person you admire. None of them got there by staying comfortable. They made choices that scared them, took actions that stretched them, and embraced the pressure that forged them. That's what separates the exceptional from the average. The willingness to be uncomfortable for something greater. There's nothing wrong with rest. There's nothing wrong with moments of ease. But when comfort becomes your lifestyle instead of your recovery, it turns toxic. It softens your edge. It dulls your fire. It convinces you to settle for less. Not because you aren't capable, but because the effort required to rise scares you more than the pain of staying stuck. So, if you want to live a life that excites you, one that makes you proud, you must learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Say yes to challenges. Put yourself in positions where you might fail, because that's where you'll find the strength to rise. Don't let your comfort zone become your coffin. Instead, treat discomfort as your compass. If it scares you, it's probably the direction you need to go. Because in the end, comfort zones don't just protect you from pain. They protect you from purpose. And there is no greater tragedy than a life could have been extraordinary if only you were willing to get a little uncomfortable. Pain is often seen as something to avoid, something to numb, escape, or resent. But pain has a purpose, and when it's connected to something meaningful, it becomes one of the most powerful tools for transformation. The fifth keynote, a purpose turns pain into power, reveals the hidden strength inside the struggles you face. Life will bring pain. This is unavoidable. The difference between those who grow and those who give up lies in what they attach that pain. When pain is connected to a greater purpose, it doesn't just hurt, it builds. Pain without purpose is suffering. It feels random, heavy, and hopeless. It leads to bitterness, self-pity, and paralysis. But pain with purpose becomes fuel. It becomes the resistance you push against to become stronger. Athletes know this when they train their bodies past exhaustion. Entrepreneurs know this when they endure setbacks to build a vision. Leaders know this when they face criticism and pressure, but still move forward for something bigger than themselves. The pain they feel doesn't break them. It forges them. The same is true in your life. When you attach your struggle to a mission, your perspective changes. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this preparing me for?" That one shift transforms you from a victim into a warrior, because now the pain has a direction. It has meaning. And anything that has meaning can be endured and even appreciated. Purpose gives your pain context. Without it, pain feels like punishment. With it, pain becomes preparation. Every rejection, every delay, every failure, every heartbreak, they all take on new meaning when you see them as part of your training. Like fire refining gold, your difficulties begin to shape your character, your resilience, and your vision. They give you a story worth telling. They deepen your empathy and expand your emotional capacity. Suddenly, even the darkest chapters in your life start to shine with hidden wisdom. There's a reason why people who have suffered deeply often carry great strength and insight. It's because they chose not to waste their pain. They let it shape them rather than shame them. They decided that if they had to go through the fire, they might as well come out stronger. That's the power of purpose. It gives you the courage to keep going when everything in you wants to stop. Your purpose doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms how you carry it. It turns your wounds into wisdom, your trials into tools, your scars into symbols of survival. And when you use your pain to help others, when you turn it into a message, a mission, or a movement, it becomes even more powerful, because now your pain isn't just helping you grow. It's helping others heal, and there is no greater form of power than that. Purpose is what turns the struggle into strength, the breakdown into a breakthrough, the season of loss into a lesson of leadership. But this only happens when you decide that you won't let pain make you bitter. You'll let it make you better. That's a choice, and it's a choice you must make daily. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by pain, pause and remember this moment isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to define you. Lean into it. Ask what it's teaching you. Find the lesson. Find the growth, and most importantly, attach it to your purpose. Because once you do, you'll discover that your deepest pain can become your greatest power. And no matter what life throws at you, if you know why you're fighting, you'll never quit. Most people go through life chasing what feels good in the moment, without ever questioning whether it's actually good for them. This is where the sixth keynote becomes essential. You redefine what feels good in a world that constantly tells you to. Do what makes you happy. This sounds harmless, even wise. But here's the true thing. Not everything that feels good leads to growth. And not everything that leads to growth feels good. That's the paradox. The things that bring lasting fulfillment often require you to move through discomfort, discipline, and delay. So, if you want a better life, you must change your definition of pleasure. As most people experience, it is reactive. It's triggered by convenience, comfort, and the avoidance of pain. A slice of cake, a day of procrastination, a night of mindless scrolling. These things offer short-term satisfaction. But what comes after? Guilt, fatigue, regret. It's a pattern we know too well, indulging in the moment, only to pay for it emotionally, physically, or mentally later. And still, many return to it again and again because it feels good to you now. But living a purpose-driven life means learning to ask a better question, not just, does this feel good now? But, will it still feel good tomorrow? Next week, or years from now, redefining pleasure means shifting your internal reward system. It means teaching yourself to feel joy from growth, not from escape. It means replacing the cheap, fleeting dopamine hits with the deeper, more meaningful reward of discipline, progress, and alignment. The gym might not feel good during the workout, but it feels amazing when you notice strength, clarity, and confidence building. Saying no to unhealthy habits might feel hard in the moment, but it creates freedom down the road. Waking up early to chase your vision isn't always enjoyable, but neither is living with the regret of a dream deferred. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of reconditioning, of rewiring your brain to crave what builds you instead of what simply soothes you. And it begins with awareness. You must become brutally honest about the things you label as pleasure. Are they helping you or holding you back? Are they creating energy or draining it? Are they moving you forward or keeping you stuck? When you slow down and reflect, even before you actually you'll often realize that the things that feel the best in the moment are doing the most damage long term. That's why it's so powerful to redefine pleasure as anything that moves you closer to your highest self. Real pleasure is waking up knowing you honored your word. It's looking in the mirror and respecting the person staring back. It's seeing evidence of your progress, mentally, physically, spiritually, and realizing you built that. That's real joy. That's real satisfaction. And it doesn't fade when the moment passes. It compounds over time. The beautiful part is the more you lean into this new definition, the more your desires begin to shift. You stop craving what is easy and begin to hunger for what is meaningful. You start choosing books over endless entertainment, deep conversations over gossip, action over avoidance. It's not because you have to. It's because you want to. Because now growth feels good. Discipline feels rewarding. Purpose feels pleasurable. And the old habits, they start to lose their appeal. This is the path of transformation. It doesn't ask you to live without joy. It invites you to find joy in better places. It calls you to raise your standards for what you call pleasure. Because your life will always move in the direction of your definitions. Redefine what feels good. Before you actually you'll redefine what's possible. Not just for a day, but for the rest of your life.